Signs in life. How to notice them. If you do not learn to notice the signs, you will miss a huge number of hints that could help you make better decisions. The Almighty, the Universus, constantly sending you signs about how to act in various situations. The problem is that we do not know what signs are, and therefore we do not notice them. Watch this video until the end, and I will explain what signs are and how to notice them. In the meantime, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and let's get started. What are signs? Signs are inexplicable events, phenomena, coincidences, or symbols that we perceive as hints or indicators on our life path. They give us a clue or a warning about something important. Signs can manifest as our inner intuitive feelings, as well as through external circumstances that point to a decision, an approach, or even necessary changes. Signs often provide answers to our pressing questions, or confirm whether we are moving in the right direction or not. Noticing signs is a process of observing and carefully analyzing signals and hints that can influence our behavior, decisions, and life direction. They often appear through circumstances, intuitive feelings, events, or even through the people we meet. Perception requires mindfulness and the ability to notice details that usually escape our attention. It is a way of communicating with the world, a sort of intuitive compass that can guide us toward a more meaningful existence, provided we learn to listen to it. By the way, while recording these videos for my YouTube channel, one of my team members shared a true story. His acquaintance was rushing to catch a flight, but she missed connections. Her car broke down, there were traffic jams, and so on. As a result, she missed her flight, which, unfortunately, later crashed. It was a horrible, tragic story, but it shows how important it is to pay attention to signs. Let's consider what kinds of signs there are. Frequent coincidences. There are situations when you encounter a suspiciously frequent coincidence. For example, you come up with an idea or are contemplating a decision. You arrive at the office, and your colleague or a random acquaintance says, "You know, I was thinking today and decided that perhaps we should do it this way," which exactly matches what you had in mind. Also, sometimes you might not pay much attention, but later, while going about your day, you suddenly read on a billboard or in a newspaper a phrase that echoes your thoughts, or you notice the same number in different situations. For example, the time on a clock, a car's license plate, or a page number in a book. This is a clear sign. Synchronicities. Sometimes you start talking about someone you haven't seen in a long time, and on the same day, that person contacts you, or one of your acquaintances expresses the same thought or idea that you recently had as if you were thinking about the same thing at the same time. If a coincidence is when a thought and an action match, then synchronicity is when this happens simultaneously with several people or in different places. Very often, synchronicity and coincidence go hand in hand. For example, one of my students once wanted to travel with me, but she did not have enough money. She said, "That morning I saw your advertisement and wanted to book your tour, but I knew I didn't have enough money on my card. Then I opened my banking app and, to my surprise, discovered that my account balance was exactly the amount that matched the tour's cost." It turned out that on that very day, the travel agency had refunded her money that she had paid for tickets and hotels 6 months earlier. Recurring situations and events. Often, when we do not notice or ignore certain signs, they repeat themselves again and again until we finally see them. When a particular situation or theme starts recurring in your life, it may be a sign that you need to learn a lesson from it or pay attention to unresolved issues. For example, you might suddenly begin to meet people with the same problems or interests, or you might repeatedly encounter a situation where you tell someone to do something but do not follow your own advice. Or you might repeatedly lose and then find an item. This could be a sign that you do not need it. For instance, my wife lost a wallet that attached magnetically to her smartphone several times. I realized it was a sign and asked her to get rid of it before she lost it along with her valuables. Incredible luck. Sometimes, signs appear as a sudden stroke of luck just when you think about something. Opportunities for it suddenly arise. If this has happened to you, be sure to like this video. Perhaps you needed resources for something, and they appeared out of nowhere. You thought of the right person, and that person showed up on your path. You were considering new business ideas or a job change, and unexpectedly, you met an old acquaintance who works in that field or can introduce you to the right person. It doesn't seem like a mere coincidence. It feels as if the world is guiding you toward your goal. Once, I consulted a student who had flown all the way from Moscow for a consultation. He wanted to purchase an established business rather than starting one from scratch. I recommended that he contact the division of a large bank that handles the sale of company assets from clients who couldn't repay their debts or look into special funds for non-performing assets. Every large bank has such a fund. I told him the best option was to hire someone who had worked in that field, since that person would know all the ins and outs and which asset could be bought at an attractive price today. That evening he left, and upon arrival, excitedly messaged me. He had slept through the flight, and when he woke up just before landing in Moscow, his seat neighbor remarked, "Well, did you sleep well?" A conversation began, and it turned out that his neighbor was the former head of the non-performing assets division at one of Russia's largest banks. Interestingly, he had resigned a month earlier and was currently looking for work. Immediately after the flight, they discussed the possibility of working together. If you have experienced such incredible luck, please share your story in the comments. The right information at the right moment. Sometimes, while you are pondering a difficult decision, you accidentally overhear a conversation in a cafe about a similar topic, or you see a news article with useful advice. It feels like an answer to your inner question. For example, once I heard the answer to a complex problem in a remark made by a waiter during a conversation with his colleague. Alternatively, the answer might come from an entirely unexpected person or situation, perhaps a quote from a movie, a podcast, or even a situation similar to yours that happened to someone else. External symbols and images. Sometimes, when you are facing a difficult situation or a tough choice, signs come to you in the form of symbols or images. For example, you might notice an unusual bridge that symbolizes the need to rebuild a relationship with someone, or you suddenly see an owl, not necessarily in nature, but perhaps in a movie, on television, or in a book, which could be a sign of wisdom and patience. Or you might be sitting in a park when a feather gently falls on you, symbolizing that you need to take the situation more lightly. Constantly encountering quotes or symbols about patience and inner strength can be interpreted as a sign that you need to exhibit these qualities. Unexpected or unusual obstacles and barriers. Sometimes, signs come in the form of unusual obstacles or barriers that hinder you from achieving your goals. For example, during the COVID pandemic, I wanted to get vaccinated. Everyone was getting vaccinated, and I thought, I should get vaccinated too. Otherwise, something feels off. I went to the nearest clinic, where they told me that the vaccine had to be administered at the clinic corresponding to my place of registration. That was unusual, because typically you could get vaccinated at any clinic. A few days later, I went to my designated clinic, but there, for some reason, a doctor measured my temperature, pulse, and blood pressure, and listened to my lungs before granting permission for the vaccination. He said, "I don't like how your lungs sound. You seem to have a slight cold, so get treated first and then come back," effectively refusing to vaccinate me. Later, while on a business trip in Kyiv, I was offered the Pfizer vaccine. I was delighted by this opportunity, and the doctor scheduled an appointment. However, just one day before the appointment, I was informed that the doctor had been arrested for illegally selling the COVID vaccine. Thus, I made 3 sincere attempts to get vaccinated, but for one reason or another, all of them failed for unusual reasons. I understood that in my case, the Almighty was not giving me the sign, so I decided not to get vaccinated. We have discussed the main types of signs. There can be many, but the key idea is to understand that signs exist. Please write in the comments about the signs you have noticed in your life and share them with others by reading your stories. Many people will understand what other kinds of signs exist and what to pay attention to. How to notice the signs. Develop mindfulness and attention. The more mindful you are, the greater your ability to communicate with the world through signs. Spend some time each day in silence, observing your thoughts and feelings. This will help you recognize when something unusual occurs, especially if it goes beyond the ordinary. Notice even the smallest details in your surroundings. Work with your intuition and inner feelings. Sometimes signs manifest as sudden internal sensations or thoughts. Learn to trust your inner signals and do not ignore feelings that spark interest or concern. For example, if you suddenly feel a strong urge to do something or go somewhere without a clear reason, pay attention. It might be a sign or an opportunity. Analyze recurring events and themes. Pay attention to situations or people that keep reappearing in your life. Repetitions may be a sign that you need to delve deeper into a topic or change your approach. Ask yourself what lesson or message might be behind these repetitions. Use signs as a prompt for reflection. When you notice something unusual, pause and ask yourself, what is this event trying to tell me? This approach helps you reassess your behavior and possibly adjust your life goals. Learn to see the unusual in the everyday. Signs can hide in the most ordinary things: a casual conversation, an unexpected coincidence, or a memorable phrase from a movie. Finding significance in small details may reveal important hints. For example, while walking down the street and thinking about a decision, you might notice an advertisement or a sign that seems to answer your question. Trust your sense of synchronicity. Signs often appear through synchronicity when seemingly unrelated events come together to create a meaningful whole. The more attentively you observe these moments, the better you will be able to recognize the hints that help you reach your goals and boost your self-confidence. In summary, to notice signs you need keen observation, trust in your intuition, and the ability to see the unusual in everyday events. Signs can be viewed as feedback from the world, indicating the right direction or hinting at necessary adjustments. The more you trust and notice these signals, the more frequently you will receive hints that help you achieve your goals and strengthen your personal confidence on your path.